big dice, so he'll be happy on the play. See if we get some magic on as he does keep. Bernie Wynn's good to go. Let's start round 9, shall we? With a Tundra. True Nemesis, the first draw here for Wynn. Underground Sea into a Deathrite Shaman.
This is another thing. Bernie has a lot of very valuable cards in his deck.
Uh-oh. Let's see some stuff.
And Evan immediately takes the front seat of the game.
Yep. True Nemesis, Force of Will, Swords, Stoneforge, a Flooded Strand, and a Brainstorm.
Just kidding. Bernie's hand's really good.
Yep. Take a look at all this stuff I'm about to kill you with.
Yep. True Name Nemesis on turn 2. About the best opening you can really hope for here.
Yeah, with Force of Will back up.
And insurance against Liliana with a creature. I mean, it's...
That's a really good start, geez.
Really good start. We're almost glossing over the Stoneforge Mystic.
It's kind of a crazy thing to do. Look at that Deathrite Shaman. It's ready.
Gonna put him to the test right now.
Swords of Plowshares to the draw.
Oh, he has a Plow and a Wasteland.
Force of Will, too.
Okay.
Both these players have great draws, but then again, both their decks are filled with just incredibly busted cards.
It's hard for them to draw lands and spells and not have a great hand.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
I've been trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do here. I mean, I guess Gitaxian Probe actually did prove to be quite valuable just because Evan got some information there. A little surprised not to see the old Wasteland Plow turn there. I feel like it'd be quite good. Maybe I'm wrong.
At least Swords to Plowshares. It feels like there's a pretty big risk here in just letting him make mana and cast True Name Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see momentarily. I'm sure Evan has a plan.
Yeah, gotta believe that he does. Flooded Strand, see what this is gonna search for. Gonna go get a beautiful Tundra.
I believe that's an actual beta.
Those come pretty cheap.
They do not.
No?
No, they
was
do
wrong
not.
about that. Remove this. I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine you wouldn't cast True Nemesis right now and have a little battle over this. Evan's gonna Force a Will. Moving a Brainstorm. You gotta believe Bernie's gonna fight back over this. True Nemesis is so good in the matchup.
Yeah, and Evans, again, once your opponent forces, they're demonstrating that the card's of high priority to them, so even if you don't necessarily value very highly, clearly your opponent does.
Hey, you gotta force back, moving your own Brainstorm herself. Yeah, rather surprised. Okay, this is Spell Pierce. Okay, so it makes sense now. I'll take care of the Force. Well, there goes the True Nemesis. And now we could see, you know, the Wasteland Kill Your Deathrite Shaman play.
Yeah, I think that Evan just wanted to drain Bernie out of resources by setting up a spot where it was very attractive for Bernie to use a Force of Will, which Evan then got to trade with a Spell Pierce.
Yeah, it's one less Brainstorm, too.
Yeah, so Evan was springing the trap.
Mm-hmm. And obviously worked out the way that he wanted it to.
Yeah.
And you see Wagstaff thinking about what he wants to do on this turn. Has the Jace, still has the Wasteland and the Swords. He could just play a Wasteland and pass the turn back and work his way towards the Jace.
He doesn't have to use the Wasteland just because it's in his hand. He also knows about Stoneforge Mystic, so it's possible that he wants to save Source of Plowshares for that.
That's true.
So he has two different roads here. He can try to cut Bernie off of mana here by saying, I'm going to plow your Deathrite Shaman, I'll Wasteland your Tundra. Hopefully you can't cast the Stoneforge Mystic and try to build up from there. Or play a more conservative approach like you just mentioned, save the plow for Stoneforge Mystic, and then try to use Jace to win the game.
There's Deathrite Shaman there for Evan. That's in. There's a Wasteland, just gonna pass the turn back. Patience. That's what he's got right now. When are you gonna draw a card? Copy of Spell Pierce, yikes. Gitaxian Probe did not see that.
No. But it did allow Evan to trade a Spell Pierce for a Force of Will and a Brainstorm.
That's true. That's true. There's a Bayou. There's a Stoneforge.
Now, Evan's already shown that he's planning on plowing this. It's pretty intriguing, too, to watch these two decks in action against one another because they're so good at generating so many extra resources. And both of these players very early on in the game have run themselves very near to out of cards.
It feels like that's how these games go a lot of the time, though. Once we work our way into the mid-game, both the players are essentially on 1 or 2 cards the entire time.
A lot of that has to do with Force of Will. Both these players generate so many haymakers that people have to just be using Force of Will early and often. It kind of just runs everyone out.
Their swords take care of the Deathrite Shaman.
And Bernie's starting to generate a big edge here. That Spell Pierce is such a critical draw because it's either going to trade with the Plow at the end of this turn or potentially Chase next turn.
Spell Pierce, obviously a fantastic legacy card. Yeah, and I like how Wynn doesn't even consider fighting over this, making it seem like I have nothing except for this Batter Skull and X. When that's not actually the truth.
And he's in a position where he can just cast, or he's getting very close to just being able to cast the Batter Skull.
Yep.
Doesn't really need Stoneforge Mystic.
Brainstorm's good. Force of Will among the cards that were drawn there. Snapcaster Mage as well.
Snapcaster Mage with some nice targets in the graveyard there. Among them, Swords of Plowshares and Gataxian Probe.
So just Gataxian Probe then.
Not in this spot. Not with another land coming. He probably wants to save the Snapcaster to plow and then bridge over to the next turn and try to find a 4th land. But I do like just, of course, just getting in there.
Oh, hard to say no.
Hard to say no.
There's Deathrite. Pass that turn back after putting those cards back with Brainstorm. Just a wasteland over there for Wagstaff. He led Bernie Wynn into a play via the Gataxian Probe, but he's still got some catching up to do here. You see Batter Skull, Spell Pierce, and Force of Will there in Wynn's hand. He's a mana short from casting that powerful artifact. So he's going to reorganize the graveyard here. And all he can do is just pass the turn back over to Wagstaff, who will take a draw. See Force of Will over there in Evan's hand. Looks like he just kicks it back, so a little draw go now. See when is going to activate Deathrite Shaman. Says, let me get one of these, because I know you play Snapcaster Mage like I do. Brainstorm.
Trying to force Evan's hand here.
That's what it seems like. Snapcaster Mage. Place onto the stack. It's going to come in. Going to target Brainstorm. And he's going to Spell Pierce that. That one's much too good.
And Evan's got to be pretty happy with this, because that Spell Pierce would have been really bad on the Jace that he's been trying to get to for a while here.
Windows finally draw the land. Will he just slam down Batter Skull? Just going to pass the turn back. Wow, the patience. Wow, the patience.
Well, I don't think there's a land in either player's graveyard.
Is there not one? Oh, you're right. You're right. I apologize. I'm so used to Deathrite Shaman just always being on.
Yeah.
It's very rare for that just not to be producing mana.
Trust me and you both.
Yeah, I never even played with the card, but I'm just so used to it just always being a Birds of Paradise with 2 other abilities.
And a point of power and 2 points of toughness.
Yeah, yeah. Blue to Delta looks like it was the draw. I wonder if you slam down the Batter Skull now. Batter Skull seems so important. Deathrite gonna go active.
Yeah, it's just, you know, neither player wants to blink right now.
Yeah, things favor Wagstaff in that world. You have to believe. Because he's got the Snapcaster Mage out there. But things can change so quickly. It takes 1 draw step.
Again, these decks are just all...
That works.
This is not a bad draw.
Yeah. Thoughtseize. kind of like countering that one. And it looks like Delta's going to get the sacrifice, maybe. And it is. So one's going to go down to 14 here. Thoughtseize is a really nice card just to break serve.
And just see what's going on. I mean, Bernie's been thinking a long time on his turns. He's missed land drops, but hasn't been casting anything. So you had to assume something's going on in that hand.
I just like the fact that it just forces some sort of action here from Wen or either player. Let me see what you got going on over there, because you definitely have something. I know about the batter skull. I would prefer if you didn't put that into play, so. It's like a scrub land.
So I think Evan can pretty comfortably assume that it has to be something like Force of Will if he wasn't willing to cast the batter skull.
And there's a Force of Will and a Thoughtseize. I would be surprised if he Force of Willed with the Jace. Jace is so good right now that he doesn't have to do that.
It's a good response to the batter skull if Bernie likes to cast it.
Wen draws a card.
If it was Force of Will and mediocre blue card, I think you may have seen Evan fight over it, but not Jace.
Yeah, Jace is anything but mediocre.
Tough spot for Bernie, though.
Yeah, he's finally said enough is enough. Let's cast the batter skull. Is that okay with you?
Now here's the question. Does Evan believe he's far enough ahead as the board is currently constituted that he doesn't want to risk missing a land drop for a very long time?
In comes the germ token. So that's going to resolve. Wagstaff, Stoneforge Mystic. Wow, he does get the mana.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Wen could have responded, and he didn't. With the Deathrite activation of his own. And on tap, pass that turn back. Could see a simple equipping of the batter skull over on the Deathrite Shaman.
It's not bad. I mean, gaining vigilance on your Deathrite's nice here.
Yeah.
It forces some sort of block.
Hiya. Yep, Snapcaster Mage down. 5 life coming for Wen. He goes up to 17. And a fetch land plus a Deathrite. Looks like maybe the play of the day. Mr. Rainforest gonna put Wen down to 16.
And you can only be unsummoning so many times here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Brainstorm with this one. And I guess hoping for the best isn't the word I want to use, but Wagstaff is behind. He needs some action.
And there's no way for them to actually destroy this card once it's in play, correct?
The batter skull?
Yeah.
No. No, no, no. Once it's in, it's in. You have to believe that both players know that, too. Nothing running around like a Maelstrom Pulse or something.
Right.
Yeah. It is Brainstorm time, and it wasn't the best one.
No Vindicate in either of these lists.
Yeah, you'll oftentimes see that, too. Couple copies of Force Will here for Evan. Still has that Stoneforge Mystic. Looks like he's got to get working on that plan now. There's a Flooded Strand. He's going to use that Wasteland, not use it for anything else. Wen says, that's fine. Go get your equipment. I've already got mine. There's batter skull for him. Back and forth we go.
So how long does Evan want to be chump blocking here? At what point does he let Jace go? I guess a Brainstorm has to just be more valuable than any of his creatures on any given turn.
Yeah, I think at this point, Deathrite Shaman's lifespan is just about done. Stoneforge Mystic definitely still has some utility at this point. You can see Wen says over there. Yep, and Deathrite Shaman gets in front of it. Gonna get an activation here. Wen says, that's fine, pick your choice. Looks like Spell Pierce is the one to go away. Maybe one of those 2 copies of Force Will, maybe something from Evan's graveyard. I think Bernie has a response with his own Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
Looks like he does.
I mean, it makes sense. He's probably not in a spot right now where he cares very much about Snapcaster. Okay, he's just going to let it
looks like
happen.
he lets it go. Definitely gave it some thought.
He is gaining a lot of life right now, so I guess it's not too big of an issue one way or the other.
Wen just passes the turn back after combat, too. Really quick turn there for Bernie. Not sure what he drew. Have to believe it's probably a land. There's a chance that this card like Force of Will, though.
I think he should have Swamp.
Okay. Wagstaff going to sacrifice that Flooded Strand. Go search for a mana.
And now we're trying to enter the phase of the game here where both players are jockeying over Batterskull and trying to get out in front of the other person's Batterskull. And Bernie, of course, has a pretty big edge right now.
Wagstaff wants to go Brainstorming, though. If there's one card that can catch him up, it's Jace. Maybe he's looking for a card like True Name Nemesis to get back in this one.
True Name would be a great draw.
Always is, especially in this matchup. Wagstaff has 3 of those in his deck. Putting 2 cards back. There's a Polluted Delta. That'll make it a good Brainstorm. Wagstaff just has to pass the turn back here. Over to Wen. He's going to activate that Deathrite Shaman. Gonna go removing something to drain Wagstaff of 2 life. It's going to be a Gataxian Probe. Sorry, Patrick.
It's okay, I understand.
And got another activation here. It's off of Bayou, so we'll see if it's going to be a creature or a spell.
I'd imagine Bernie's just trying to go for the throat right now.
It's a spell pierce, so the answer to that question is definitely yes. Draws a card to go along with the Swamp. Doesn't look like it was anything too relevant. Looks like Deathrite might be going towards Jace another time here. There you see the play in the driver's seat right now, but for how long?
Yeah, Evan has a plow, which allows him to buy 1 turn.
We have seen before in Legacy, I oftentimes say it takes 2 Jace activations before you can catch up. 2 Brainstorms.
Yeah.
And there have been 2 of those. And if there's a 3rd one, I would be very, very impressed if Bernie would be able to come back from that. It seems so very difficult.
Yeah, when he's brainstorming, the problem is it's hard for him not to find at least 1 relevant card that can, at the minimum, chump block the Deathrite Shaman that's coming in. And eventually he finds something like True Name Nemesis or something along those lines that really allows him to push ahead. Or kills everything that Bernie plays and counters the Batterskull when he recasts it or what have you.
We're going to gain some more life in that Swords. This is going to be, looks like maybe a Batterskull just going on a Deathrite Shaman. That's not all that exciting for a turn. You can see Wagstaff is finally starting to take over here.
Yeah.
You can feel it shifting now. Stoneforge Mystic going to go active. Batterskull is going to come into play for him. There's your Germ token. Gonna untap. Still has Jace out there at the ready. Force of Will in his hand. He's going to sacrifice Polluted Delta on his upkeep to make sure he doesn't draw. What he already knows is there. Goes and gets a Tropical Island. He's at 7 life. You see Wen's at 24. But at this point, Wen's life total doesn't matter too much. It's all about kind of what's on the board.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're in Evan's favor now.
Yeah, Evan's just looking at so many more cards, and Bernie's leaning very heavily on this Batterskull to keep him up in the game in terms of just raw power. So his foothold in this game is tenuous.
It's unsummon time. An activation of the Deathrite. I'll take care of the Swords of the Plowshares. And even though he went down to 5, he's going up to 9 now. This game has shifted.
And the life total rarely matters that much. This is about what's happening on the board, card advantage, that kind of stuff.
This is called one player has a Jace and one player does not. Wen just did pick up a copy of Jace. But it might be a little too late now. As Evan's Jace has really gotten the job done here. Four mana. Wen gonna try to resolve his, a foil one at that.
Fancy.
Gorgeous magic card. Force Will counters it all the same. Reluctantly puts it into the graveyard. Knows that he really, really needed that to get back in the game.
Because it doesn't take long for him to be the one that has to start chump blocking.
Things can shift very, very quickly as Deathrite Shaman's going to come in here. Wagstaff going to draw a card. He's going to brainstorm very quickly. You see the Force of Will still in his hand. Picks up another copy of Force of Will. Looks like maybe a Gataxian Probe as well.
I believe he's found 2 copies of True Name Nemesis.
That's a good Magic card. Wow.
It's pretty powerful in this spot.
You mean the spot where he taps 3 mana and casts it?
Yes.
Yeah, that spot. My professional recommendation would be to do that. There that is. Don't know if he needs to cast a second one. Because like this gives him the other one gives him a blue card for Forceful in case anything goes wrong. I'm not entirely sure what can go wrong when you've got a Jace, a True Name, and an active Batterskull, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and Evan appears to have the same logic here, and Bernie's going to let this one go.
Yep, Evan Wagstaff's going to win game number 1. Pretty nice comeback there for him. Esper Deathblade Mirror goes to the player on the right, sitting at 7-1. You see, we've got under about 26 minutes here in just a little bit. We'll take a look at the sideboards. You've got Bernie Wynn in front of you. What's he got?
An Abrupt Decay, a Crozant Grip, a Flusterstorm, a Source of Plowshares, a Relic of Progenitus, a Thoughtseize, a Vendilion Click, a Cabal Therapy, a True Name Nemesis, 2 Meddling Mage, 2 Zealous Persecution, a Rise of Pieces, and Craft Trigger's Cage. I think the Zealous Persecutions are going to come in, help them fight a little bit more over True Name Nemesis. I think the Crozant Grip is reasonable as a good answer to equipment. Things like Vendilion Click, Thoughtseize, Source of Plowshares, just additional, nuts and bolts Magic cards are good for this matchup.
Other side of things, 3 Surgical Extraction, 2 Meddling Mage, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Zealous Persecution, a Venser Shaper Savant, a Lingering Souls, a Vindicate, a Sword of Fire and Ice, a Disenchant, and a Graft Digger's Cage. I like me a Zealous Persecution. Take care of opposing True Nemesis. I actually like myself a Lingering Souls. I like a Vindicate, be able to take care of the enchantment problem. A Sword of Fire and Ice to be able to get by True Nemesis. Disenchant to take care of equipment as well. A lot of options here. And always the really tough part here is just what to sideboard out. That's anybody's guess, really. I honestly think it varies from player to player on what you cut.
Yeah, to me, the question is Force of Will. I know that a lot of players feel just in general in honest matchups that Force of Will is pretty poor. But True Name Nemesis is such a, okay, well, the game kind of just stops here. I can't really function anymore type of threat that some people leave in some copies of Force of Will. Some people like leaving in all the copies of Force of Will. It feels a lot more up in the air debate-wise than it used to be pre-True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, I think between that and Jace is worth countering too. It's weird. Like, there are situations where you're really happy to counter some stuff, and there's others where you just want to be anywhere near Force of Will. But at the same time, I don't think you can leave yourself open to just letting anything resolve. I think that can be said for either player.
Especially when, for the most part, at some point to really get ahead in the game, you need to tap out for Jace. And one of the best responses to tapping out for Jace from the other side is just casting True Name Nemesis. So,
I mean, think about how good Force of Will was in that first game where you had that little battle at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Force of Will played a crucial role. As if one was able to resolve that True Nemesis, everything that happened in the game wouldn't even have occurred. True Nemesis would have just ran rampant over the game. I'm with you. I think it's just tough to figure out what to cut. I mean, every single card, and this is one of the things that makes this deck great, is just every card's so good in the deck. You want to cut Deathrite Shaman? No way. Stoneforge? Snapcaster? You can't cut True Name. It's too important. Brainstorm? Who are we kidding? That's not going anywhere. Swords?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to. I would say Probe. I know you don't want to cut that. I mean, Probe was integral in that game, right?
Yeah, the information is really important in these games.
Thoughtseize maybe. Kind of a bad draw in the mid to late game.
I don't know. I think with Snapcaster Mage in the 2 decks, I think that Thoughtseize is potentially quite good as well.
Oh, you got that draw. Like turn 1 Thoughtseize, and then turn 3 Snap Thoughtseize. You can see Spell Pierce potentially leaving. I like the equipment. I like Jeet and Batterskull. It really seems like it's almost only can be Force of Will.
Yeah. Everything's too good.
Yeah.
Just cut lands.
Either cut lands or board up. Here's Thoughtseize. You've got a Vendilion Click, a Snapcast, a Vendilion Click, a Stoneforge Mystic, Liliana the Veil, a True Nemesis, and 2 lands, Tundra and Underground Sea. I guess Stoneforge, I guess. Like, that I could see taking. I could also see taking True Name because it's so good in the matchup.
Yeah, it just depends very much on what is in Evan's hand, of course.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is just take his 1 2-mana play, but he may care specifically about any one of the 3 3-mana spells as well.
My favorite part about this deck is, how good is Esper Deathblade? Well, look at that hand. Yeah, these are just all cards in my deck, and I can cast them all. Well, okay then. That's going to be really, really tough to beat.
It's a who's who of good Magic cards from the last 20 years.
Yeah, some of the very best. Some of the absolute best cards in their respective formats. There goes True Name. Wagstaff feels like that's the most important one. One's going to slam down a Stoneforge Mystic. Going to go searching for an equipment. We'll see if it's Batter Skull or if it's going to be Umezawa Jite. Could potentially be Sword of Fire and Ice as well.
No sword in Bernie's
Oh, no sword. Okay, sword over here in Evans. My apologies. So it will just be the living weapon in Batter Skull. I really like sword in this deck, or having access to it in these decks, just because I think getting by True Name Nemesis is so important.
Yep. No, I mean, but it's hard to find room for everything. Again, there's so many good cards to choose from.
Sounds like a 61 card deck to me.
There's no such thing.
Well, come on.
Impossible. Have some discipline.
No. The cards are too good. No. Stoneforge of his own. Time to go searching. Does he want a Batter Skull? Does he want a sword? Does he want a Jite? He wants Jite. Thoughtseize the draw. Pretty good draw there for Bernie. Could also just play his Liliana. Try to resolve this. Make Wagstaff sacrifice his Stoneforge Mystic. That might be part of the reason that Evan searched for Jite instead of Batter Skull, because he knows his Stoneforge is going to die.
Or at least Bernie has that option.
Yeah. Bernie instead decides to go with Thoughtseize plus be able to activate my Stoneforge Mystic. Here's the grip. You've got a Batter Skull, so Evan already had that. There's Jite to go along with the Snapcaster Mage, a Disenchant, and then 2 copies of Looted Delta.
Mystery solved.
Yeah. The jig is up. Information is key.
This is why he got the Jite, because Batter Skull was already in hand.
Also, now I think it's very likely that we don't even see Wynn consider putting into play his Batter Skull. Don't know if he wants to lose it to the Disenchant.
Evan also has access to Snapcaster Thoughtseize next turn if Bernie doesn't take Snapcaster.
Yeah, that's true. Difficult decisions for each player. Trying to cast Thoughtseize against this deck is just really difficult.
Also keep in mind the clock here. Bernie needs to win to have a shot at making the elimination rounds here. So I think that's why you saw him concede so quickly in game 1.
Yeah, and he was beat, to be fair.
Yeah, he was definitely beat.
Take a Batter Skull. Before passing the turn back, repping the Stoneforge Mystic activation. Wagstaff will take a draw here. See if he wants to do anything. He's without his Batter Skull for the rest of this game.
Magic players,
There's a Looted Delta.
if you believe you have finished the top 64 and you have not filled out tax paperwork with starsgames.com, you must do so in order to...
So we can hold up Disenchant this turn or just go for Snapcaster plus.
Coming up to the registration stage.
He's going to go for Snapcaster Plus. Wagstaff knows that Wynn's hand is really, really good, so...
Yes.
Got to sacrifice this Polluted Delta. Wants to make sure he knows what lands he wants to go get. Gonna go with the old Scrub land. Just missing green mana. There is an activation of Stoneforge Mystic. Thoughtseize is gonna resolve. Double Liliana and a Vendilion Click.
Have to assume that we want to go after the Vendilion Click here.
There goes that fairy.
And both these players shortcutting quite a bit.
Yeah, they understand time's of the essence. It's still very, very possible for Wagstaff to lose this game. So he wants to go quickly too, as a draw doesn't help either player right now, obviously.
So there's the hit.
For life. Each way.
And you can see why Evan got Scrubland last turn. Bernie has just picked up Wasteland, and this means that Evan cannot be cut off of any color of mana.
Attention Magic players, the Hurley Altars station is going to be closing up in about 10 minutes.
Liliana gonna come in. Gonna subtract, take care of a Stoneforge Mystic.
For you, or if you'd like to make a last second
Now there's, ooh, Wasteland.
or purchase, please stop by their booth. Again, about 10 minutes till Hurley closes up for the day.
I always forget that this deck has Wasteland too, jeez. Gonna go after Underground Sea.
It plays all the best cards. How can it not play Wasteland?
It really does. No arguments to be had here. Stoneforge Mystic picked up here, and it's crazy. As far ahead right now as Bernie is, And I think you can argue that he's very far ahead right now. If Evan just finds a true name nemesis, it's just a completely different game.
Yeah. Well, I think that Evan has, with the disenchant in hand, he's got a pretty good foothold on this game.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a bit behind on board, but as we saw in previous games, it does not take very long to catch up.
He is not happy with how things are going, obviously. Seems like a pretty good play just to disenchant. Yeah, get this off of the table, go after your Liliana, maybe?
Attention magic players are to guess.
My Snapcaster Mage would trade with your Stoneforge?
I don't think he wants to trade here. I think he's better served, if nothing else, keeping the Snapcaster Mage in play as fodder for a Liliana sacrifice,
Okay.
or as something to put a piece of equipment on.
Okay. Over there in the next 12 minutes.
The Stoneforge probably doesn't mean very much at this stage of the game, so.
Yeah, that's probably true. He knows the last card in Wynn's hand, too, is just a copy of Liliana. Wynn's going to draw a card very quickly here. Not sure what he found. Pretty quick with those hands. Rather Kibler-esque. It's going to be a Zealous Persecution. Sure.
Answer a true name nemesis, but kills Stoneforge just the same.
Does come across for 2 now with the Stoneforge. And discard the Jite.
And now Edict Protection for the true name nemesis that Evan just picked up.
Yeah, I was going to say. That's kind of crazy. There's a Stoneforge. Time to go searching. It's time for Sword of Fire and Ice. That's a Thoughtseize. Snap, true name, and a sword.
So Bernie with a pretty slow clock here, but it's not clear Evan can get really any forward progress going.
We're ticking up.
I mean, he does have a line here of, discard the Snapcaster Mage, resolve the true name nemesis. You have Edict Protection here, and hope that true name nemesis can turn the game around.
Yeah, dare you to top deck. The Persecution play felt a little aggressive.
Well, I think he wanted to just plus his Liliana the last turn.
Sure.
For better or worse.
Gonna sacrifice Blue to Delta here.
Oh, and Evan's just trying to wasteland. And if that's the case, then he can cut Bernie off of white mana too. Just like last game, Evan took his lumps, but it feels like he's getting things turned around.
Yeah, really, it does really feel a lot like the last game.
And he's down Liliana's, he'll be without white mana, so Zealous Persecution is no longer a thing you have to concern yourself with.
That's exactly what his play is going to be. What a turnaround. All off the back of a true name nemesis. Gonna take down. Yep, Stoneforge bites the dust. There's Deathrite Shaman, pass the turn.
Deathrite's an awesome draw here.
Yep. And get that thing out of here. That's a pretty good draw. Actually, not great. No equipment to search up. They're all gone.
It's at least a blocker.
Yeah, that's true. Take a draw. Got to get the move on here. You see, both players playing pretty quickly, but at the same time, Wynn feels like he might be able to steal this one with the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah. He wasn't going to be able to attack for the rest of the game on the ground at least, but Deathrite might be able to steal it just in the nick of time.
And he come for 3. Wynn's going to go down to 17. Going to activate the Deathrite Shaman. Put Wagstaff down to 5. There goes the disenchant. Wynn going to quickly untap, take a draw. There's a Brainstorm, pretty good draw. Pass the turn back. Deathrite, can you take me home? Certainly gonna try. There's a Brainstorm for Wagstaff. He's got cards to draw too.
Source of Plowshares, especially.
Not quite sure what he found. He found a Jace. He found a Deathrite of his own. I don't think he has green mana, which would be pretty nice for him.
I mean, can he get Jason to play next turn, maybe? And unsummon the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, that's probably
Try
gonna
to go from there.
I would not be surprised at all to see that be the plan. Hide Jace on top, so it can't be hit with a discard spell, since you can't cast it this turn anyway. Play this, drop that down. Sure name, come on in. Go down to 14. Wynn gonna put you down to 3. Wynn gonna quickly untap. He's gonna take a draw.
Attention
Brainstorm, pass the turn back. Wagstaff, he's going to draw a card. Spell Pierce is a pretty good magic card right now. That's going to counter chase.
And now Deathray finishes it off.
Yep. Wow. Crazy game. Timely Spell Pierce there from Bernie Wynn. We're going to play a third and final one here. Probably start this one with about 10 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. I mean, you know, these players are going to both play fast. Bernie, of course, needs to win to have any sort of shot. And if Evan's playing him right now, that means the pairings, you know, he's probably near the bottom of the standings of the X1.
He needs it too.
Both players are going to play fast here, I'm sure. It looked like Evan had, just like in the first game, taken his lumps and turned the game around, but Deathray just stole it and he couldn't find a source of pleasure in time.
So a funny question on Twitter while these players do shuffle up here, Patrick. At Patrick Gaskill, if I pronounce that wrong, I do apologize. Honest question, if Deathblade is all of the best cards from the past 20 years, why isn't it pressing Legacy?
Because Legacy has a large enough card pool where you can do incredibly powerful linear things, and not all these cards are the best suited to fight the most linear powerful things.
Yeah, I think in a deck like this, for example, you know, a deck that is a really tough deck for Esper Deathblade to beat, oddly enough, is Imperial Painter. Like, as good as this deck is, it is really soft to Blood Moon.
So here's a good way of thinking about it. There are cards and strategies that are good in small card pools and in large card pools. Ancestral Recall and Time Walk, for example. You put those cards into Standard, they would be really powerful.
Sure.
And they're also quite good in Vintage as well. There are some cards that are a consequence of the card pool. For example, there's plenty of Standard formats where you could put in, for example, Rite of Flame, and it would not do anything, be barely played because there's just not enough cards to make it work. But as you expand the card pool, Rite of Flame becomes more and more powerful. Esper Deathblade is full of cards that are incredibly powerful in small and in large card pools. If you put these cards into Standard, they would be format-defining cards. But there's some decks in Legacy that capitalize on a saturation or density of the card pool. Lion's Eye Diamond is another very good example. Lion's Eye Diamond in a lot of Standard formats would do nothing. It would not be in decks because there just wouldn't be enough support around it to make a ritual deck a thing. But when you expand the card pool, of course, Lion's Eye Diamond becomes incredibly powerful because there's just enough things that interact with it.
See both players here with the Deathray Shaman to begin game number 3. Umezawa's Jite out here as well. The interesting thing now is that you saw both players really take their time jockeying for position in game number 1, starting to accelerate their play a little bit in game number 2. Oh, they're going to have to play fast now in game number 3. It's far too important.
Absolutely.
And I don't think, I don't know all the makeup right now of Evan's hand, but I don't think we would see a play like cast a turn to Umezawa's Jite normally from him. But Jite is so powerful; it's a card that can run away. If the game by itself.
If the game was if the play was close, he's going to err on the side doing the more aggressive thing. Glimpse of Nature is another good example of a card that, as the card pool expands, it becomes more powerful.
That's true.
Because things interact with it.
Yeah.
But Glimpse of Nature in many Standard formats would kind of be probably not show up in many decks, if any decks at all.
Wen looks like he's just going to pass the turn back. Okay. Wagstaff going to take a draw here. Looks like Wen has a copy of Zealous Persecution in the grip. You see Wagstaff does have a Wasteland over here. Snapcaster Mage as well. This one's going to get a little interesting.
You know, the tough thing is you know, all this time that requires, you know, you to think about what plays you want to make and what you're playing around. You see that clock in the middle ticking down. The most likely scenario is neither player can afford a draw. We know that's certainly the case with Bernie. Evan may or may not be able to afford one. Most likely not.
She's going to take a few moments this turn. This could be the crucial one. Is he going to go for the Jite? Oh boy. This Zealous Persecution could be a real beating here. Let's see if he attacks.
And he can't even test the waters with Wasteland because that Deathrite Shaman is available to be activated.
Yep. I could see something just equipping and passing, but man, that's a tough play to make. That's a really tough play to make. You see Evan. He wants to get in there so bad. Here he comes. Zealous Persecution is going to be quite the blowout here. We think. There's a block first. Now, this will be a Zealous Persecution. So Deathrite Shaman for Win is going to become a 2-3. For Wagstaff, it becomes a 0-1. No GT counters, and that might be Wagstaff's entire turn now.
Yeah, I mean, he had nothing else really to do, you know. He has a Snapcaster Mage with no spells, a Jace the Mind Sculptor that he can't cast, some lands.
And now there's a True Name Nemesis. This one might be over before it even started, my friend. Just going to pass the turn back over to Wagstaff. He draws a copy of Batterskull.
Again, and he has insurance against Liliana the Veil with that Deathrite in play, so. Now Evan really can't cast the Jace the Mind Sculptor unless he's willing to just Fate Seal.
Spell Pierce. Ooh,
or that could just happen instead.
Yep.
Never mind.
We're getting a one-sided beating here.
Yeah, Bernie firing on all cylinders right now.
Start with the attack for 3 with the True Name. Wagstaff going to go down to 17. You see a Brainstorm. There's Liliana over there for Bernie Wynn as well. No lands in the grave for Deathrite right now. Obviously other things to do with it though. Can certainly put a land in there at a moment's notice with a Wasteland. This is a Brainstorm. Good place to start. 3 cards coming. Wasteland among them. We can see a little Wasteland parade if Wynn would like, as he has not played a land yet.
I can never fight the urge to just...
Come on, I'm looking at those 2 blue mana. I want them both dead.
Oh, yeah.
I want to kill them both.
You still get to activate Deathrite Shaman?
Yeah, there you go. It's too hard for me to pass that lineup.
Never.
I got a blue mana available for a Spell Pierce too. You see Wagstaff does draw a Tundra.
If you're not going to wasteland all your opponent's lands away when you get the shot, why are you even showing up to a Legacy tournament, you know? That's what you're here for.
They are there to be killed. Deathrite Shaman. Gonna go active. Remove this copy of Spell Pierce. Wagstaff gonna go down to 15. When gonna untap. He's gonna take a draw. Plenty of time for him to get the job done with this True Name Nemesis. Wagstaff gonna go down to 12.
And the clock's so fast. I mean, this is, you know, Deathrite's 10, and these turns are hitting in increments of 5.
Yep.
Bernie still with Liliana the Veil and Spell Pierce.
Snapcaster Mage too.
He's got it all.
Yeah. Wagstaff gonna get Snapcaster Mage. Looks like he's trying to get trying to get a GT active now.
Yeah. It's his only real way to fire back here.
Let's see when considering his options here. He does have a Snapcaster Mage in his hand as well. Looks like we might see Wasteland get fired off here. Maybe.
Well, Evan would at least draw first to see if he needs the colorless mana for anything.
Yep. Take a draw, shall we? Venture, Shaper, Savant, add it to the grip. We saw Evan last time contemplate going for it with GT. I think he might try it again, though.
It's tough. You know, there's another, you know, how many turns can he flush down the toilet trying to get this thing active?
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. It is his best shot to probably crawl back into the game. It's the most powerful thing he can do, but...
Desperate times, desperate measures, you know?
Yeah. And I think he's taking the alternate route here of trying to use Venser to good effect.
So True Name will untap. Scrubland added to the grip here for Win. Looks like he's going to put that land into play. You see the grip. There's a Snap. There's a Liliana. There's a Spell Pierce. How about a Liliana, you say? Is this okay? Down to 2. There goes Snap. In comes True Name. Wagstaff really trying to set a trap here. This is interesting. Just letting Snapcaster Mage go, but has Venser and can pick a pretty nice spot with Venser potentially. See Wagstaff at 8, Win at 19. Win the player in the driver's seat here, but again, it feels like we've said that every game.
Yeah.
He's in the driver's seat, and Evan is the one climbing from behind. There's a Venstar. the Shaper Savant. What are you bouncing? Says, get Death right out of here. Gonna have a response. Sacrifice the Misty Rainforest. Well, Wendy's gonna go down to 18. We know he has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. You don't want to search that land up first.
And I've been in this position before that Bernie's in, where you feel, you know, I'm way ahead in this game. I've even got Spell Pierce as a great defense against Jace the Mind Sculptor or Batter Skull or any reasonable follow-up. Your opponent plays Venser in the spot, and you think, oh, this is like, I'm still ahead, but this may be one of the worst cards in Magic my opponent could have right now. I can't pierce this. He gets to put Jitte on something. Again, Bernie's still ahead in this game, but that Venser, a critical piece of him coming back.
Wagstaff picked up a Jace, and he has a Batter Skull. And Jace is really interesting at this point in the game because now that the shields are down, Wagstaff can actually resolve this since there's no Spell Pierce there, and it's pretty hard to say no to that. He's going to tick up. Let's take a look at the top card. That card, much too good. And now there goes Liliana. When draws his cards, a Stoneforge Mystic.
And Evan clawing back a little bit.
Does he have enough time?
Yeah, there's a couple things he's fighting. Not just survival, but can he also survive and then turn around and win the game? I suppose he can live with a draw, depending on how the breakers break.
Yeah, that's true.
The same thing is not true of Bernie's.
Jitte gonna show up to the party here. I'm just gonna be cast. True Nemesis is gonna hang back on defense, saying you don't get to get your Jitte active. Only I do. Under 2 minutes now between these two players. It's time to brainstorm. You see Deathrite Shaman and Batter Skull. Gonna add to okay. Zealous Persecution.
Oh boy.
Wow. It seems like at some point Evan's out of it, then he's back in it, then he's out of it again. Now he's back in it again.
Evan is not a man to be trifled with.
No. He is battling.
And that Zealous Persecution's a big swing, potentially.
Yeah, that might be the best card he could have found right there. He has 2 copies of that card in his sideboard. And we saw what kind of role it played for Win early in the game. It's going to play a nice role for Evan now. You got to imagine he's going to use this. Get your true name out of here. Pump up my Venser into a 3/3. Your Stoneforge is a 0/1. Got to imagine he wants to equip as well. I got my equipment active. Let's go. That'll work. Only has to remove 1 counter to take care of Stoneforge, assuming that he wants to do that. He's got the ability to play a Deathrite Shaman now. And as good as a card as True Nemesis is, and there's no debating how powerful that card is in Legacy, if Evan goes on to win this game, it'll be because of Jace.
Yes.
As usual.
There's a lot of really powerful cards in this deck. True Nemesis is one of the, as odd as it sounds to say, one of the easier ones to identify answers to. Because all the 1 toughness hate's effective against it.
Now, one thing you'll notice there that Evan did is that he removed both GT counters to take care of the Stoneforge Mystic. It was just an 0/1 because of the Zealous Persecution. So a little bit of a misstep there. People wondering if that play is legal or not. Absolutely. You can just hold priority and do it twice.
Yeah, because Evan just removed 2 Jitte counters. That is technically legal. He's never passed priority.
You got to hope if you're rooting for Evan that GT counter that he doesn't have now doesn't come back to hurt him. There's a Snapcaster Mage in Wynn's hand, so that could end up mattering.
So this is turn 0 right now.
Yep.
Feels like if anyone has a chance to win the game outright, it's Bernie just because of life totals, but
things could change mighty fast. See when taking a look at his grid. He can slow down a little bit now. They're in extra turns. Of course, they have to play at a reasonable pace still. That doesn't change, but you can take a deep breath here and try to figure out, okay, how do I deal these last 7 points of damage? Through a Jace, a Venser, a Jitte. And a Deathrite Shaman. Boy, is it going to be tough. He's going to start with a Snapcaster Mage. Going to cast a Brainstorm, the best card in Legacy. 1, 2, and 3. 2 lands. Looks like maybe another copy of Deathrite Shaman. He'll set 2 back. And sacrifice Blue Delta. One's going to go down to 16. Every point matters right now, especially when you're extra turns. So between this fetch land and that GT counter, that should probably still be out there. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, it's not clear if Bernie can do anything better than just play defense from the stage of the game, but in terms of making the elimination rounds, I don't think that gets him very far.
Defense is not a good offense in that case. That's a couple copies of Deathrite Shaman. Pass the turn back over to Wagstaff. Turn number 1 of extra turns begins with Evan. And now you see him trying to figure out, how do I deal the last points of damage?
And if that's impossible, how can I create the most commanding board state to try to persuade Bernie that perhaps a concession is deserved?
Yeah. He's going to start by brainstorming. Hit 1, 2, and 3. You see a Brainstorm, a Swords to Plowshares. Looks like maybe a Deathrite Shaman with the Polluted Delta. Seems like given enough time, Wagstaff may win this one. But he's got to work with 3 turns, turns 1, 3, and 5. That's it. And this is the first of the 3. This is a Brainstorm. Gets to see one more new card. Delta Wasteland. Gonna put a couple of lands back. See the Deathrite and the Swords there.
Trying to figure something out, but it's hard for me to imagine Evan winning the game in time, drawing to its natural conclusion.
Yeah, it's a rough puzzle. Swords is probably a pretty good place to start. Get that out of here. Gonna come in here. See if maybe a double block is appealing. Probably not. It would get Venser off the board.
For the purposes of making sure you don't die in 3 turns, it's a pretty attractive play.
This is true.
Although I guess at this point there's enough creatures in the graveyard that maybe keeping the Deathrite Shaman around for 1 turn, it has some value.
Looks like it's going to be allowed to come through. One's going to go back down to 16. 2 counters on the GT. That's another copy of Deathrite Shaman. Both players have 2. Not much more Wagstaff can do this turn except for fire off a Wasteland. Maybe move the GT. Just going to pass the turn back over to Win. Win draws a card. I believe it was another copy of Deathrite Shaman. He's got a GT on his side, but he's never been able to get it active. See the Spell Pierce and the GT. Spell Pierce life. Pretty much done at this point.
Yeah. It may prevent a GT from getting moved around or something like that. Maybe Batter Skull still, but...
That's really about it. There's a third Deathrite Shaman. You see Dan Muster overlooking Bernie Wen's play. Good friends, playing the Open Series quite a bit. Just has to pass the turn back. Deathrite Shaman are going to try to go active. Says, I want one of those spells. Response, I'm going to eat it with my Deathrite Shaman. Wagstaff's going to go down to 5. Remember, Wagstaff now has 2 active Deathrite Shamans. Win has 2 active ones, 1 new one. Time to go with a Wasteland. Good play by Evan here.
Yeah, may force the action a little bit here. Maybe we can squeeze an extra Deathrite Shaman activation out of forcing the hand.
Turn 3 of extra turns here. Float some color of mana there will win. Likely black. So Wagstaff still hasn't used Jace yet this turn either. He's going to unsummon.
He's making his move.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing whatever he can take to get these last 16 points of damage through. That's really all he can do.
He has the 2 take counters left over to go ahead and take care of the last Deathrite Shaman if he's feeling so inclined.
It's crazy to think that maybe that one GT counter that he did not have, that he accidentally used, might be the thing that loses him this game.
Yeah. It's shaping up where that's in play.
So it's okay, get this one out of here. Yep, so get this one out of here. Fencer's going to come across for 2. 2 counters there. Pass the turn back. Turn 4.
So, did Bernie just draw Abrupt Decay?
Potentially?
I mean, if that's the case, that gives him a lot of protection from dying.
Things do change quite a bit. It's still pretty far behind, however.
Well, it's not about... okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be an extension of the hand. I think Bernie Wynn knows that given enough time, Evan's going to win this one.
And by enough time, that might mean just one